In just 30 days, India's RBL Bank successfully mobilized exactly $150 million in fresh foreign currency deposits. To understand why this is so unusual, look at the rest of the Indian banking sector. Right now, domestic lenders are locked in a fierce war to secure local retail deposits. RBL Bank was particularly vulnerable in this environment. Historically, they have relied heavily on expensive bulk and wholesale deposits to fund their operations. Look at this graph tracking the bank's profitability over time. As the cost of carrying that high domestic debt pushed upward, it compressed RBL's net interest margin down to a low point of 4.13% in the first quarter of fiscal 2027. To fund their next phase of aggressive expansion, management urgently needed a capital source significantly cheaper than anything available in the domestic market. So they stopped fighting the domestic deposit war and looked toward the Gulf. This record-breaking capital raise is the direct result of a massive corporate acquisition colliding directly with a temporary regulatory loophole. To see exactly how RBL pulled this off, we must dissect both of these independent forces. First, on June 18, 2026, Dubai-based Emirates NBD completed a $2.75 billion acquisition, taking a 60% controlling stake in RBL Bank. That direct capital infusion raised the bank's net worth to roughly 42,000 crore rupees, providing a much larger base for growth. But beyond the raw cash, RBL gained a strategic distribution advantage. They immediately plugged into Emirates NBD's fast Middle Eastern network, giving them direct access to millions of affluent non-resident Indians. Having the pipeline to reach foreign wealth is one thing. To actually convince those NRIs to move their money to India, RBL still needed a highly competitive financial product. That product became possible because of a rare, temporary macroeconomic policy shift by the Reserve Bank of India, known as the FCNR swap window. Normally, importing foreign dollars requires expensive currency hedges, creating a barrier that eats into margins. But under this temporary loophole, for fresh 3 to 5 year deposits, the RBI absorbs the swap cost entirely at par, removing the barrier completely. With the central bank eating the currency risk, pulling in foreign dollars suddenly became drastically cheaper for RBL than borrowing from local domestic markets. Because RBL saves so much money on hedging costs, they can pass that value directly to the NRI consumer in the form of higher yields. For the end user, these accounts offer two major structural benefits. The funds are fully repatriable, and the depositor carries zero currency risk because the principal and interest remain in US dollars. This bar chart compares standard domestic fixed deposit returns against the new foreign currency offering. Thanks to the RBI swap window, a 5-year US dollar deposit at RBL now yields 6.35%, and the interest earned is completely tax-free in India. It creates a perfect alignment of interests. Non-resident Indians secure unbeatable tax-free returns on their dollars, and RBL Bank successfully captures a massive, cheap capital base. If you want to understand the deeper mechanics behind market-moving corporate strategies, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Now that RBL has secured this $150 million in cheap foreign capital, they are deploying it immediately to retire their expensive domestic wholesale debt. By replacing high-cost domestic liabilities with low-cost foreign funds, management projects a strong recovery in net interest margins starting in the second quarter. This strategy addresses the structural profitability issue that was plaguing the bank in Act 1. With its new ownership structure, RBL Bank is no longer operating in a strictly domestic silo. Through the Emirates NBD integration, RBL is expanding its transaction banking and trade finance operations across the India-Middle East economic corridor, and accessing larger corporate accounts that were previously restricted by capital ceilings. By leveraging this international network, RBL is now capturing trade and capital flows that were previously out of its reach. But the exact conditions that created this deposit surge won't last. The highly lucrative RBI swap window that made this anomaly possible strictly closes on September 30th, 2026. In modern finance, massive opportunities exist only in these brief windows, right where corporate strategy and regulatory policy collide.